Parallel lines are two or more lines extending out in the same direction and that are the same distance apart from each other and that never intersect. And that's exactly what Ziggy Haim and Tony Johnson were at Ryse Wrestling in 2019. As both of them were making their way up the Ryse roster, their paths would finally meet in one-on-one action in June of 2019. Before the match, Ziggy cut a promo which compared their careers to that of parallel lines, forever linking those two together.
Tony Johnson, the Iceman. You and I don't know if you know it or not, but it's sort of like parallel lines. Something that those sciencey people call two lines that just never quite meet. Go up and up right next to each other, but just don't really get there. On Saturday in Connellsville, we get to see what happens when those two parallel lines going right at the same time but never really meeting up, finally get one-on-one right in the ring. No one else, no tag match, no scramble with everyone else around, just you and me. Seeing which line going up the exact same time gets to beat the other one out.
Early on in their first one-on-one encounter, Tony Johnson would underestimate Ziggy Haim, which allowed Ziggy to gain an early advantage. Tony would then cheat and deliver an eye poke to regain that advantage. The action would continue on back and forth for several minutes as both competitors tried to defeat the other, proving that Ziggy and Tony were indeed those parallel lines on the same level as each other. However, the match would end in controversy as Tony Johnson delivered the ice pick kick to Ziggy Haim and he went for the cover. Ziggy got her foot on the bottom rope, but the referee didn't see it as Tony Johnson quickly grabbed her leg, removing it off the rope and stealing the victory. This loss fired Ziggy Haim up as she reminded Tony Johnson that even though he cheated to pick up the win, they were still those same parallel lines in their ascent to the Ryse Championship, and that they would meet again.
I told you that we were parallel lines, Tony. Going up and up right next to each other and never quite meeting. You had such a problem with that. Such a problem that when these two parallel lines finally ended up meeting, you had to go and cheat, didn't you?
Foot's on the rope.
You had to go and notice that I was still here to fight. That we were still gonna go. I'm not mad at you. You were smart. You were smart. I'm not mad at you. I'm not mad at the ref. I'm not mad at the fact that the crowd knows, everyone in the back knows what you did. But I know. I know what happened. And now I know that I run with the legends of Pittsburgh, Tony. I know that I'm right next to you and we are those parallel lines. I'm sure that's bothering you right now. I'm sure you know that what you did was an easy way out. But I think you also know that we're still going to keep being parallel lines, and you know that we can meet again.
And they did meet again in October of 2019 in the second round of the Rise of a Contender tournament. As these parallel lines chased after that title, they once again had to go through each other to do so. In this match, Ziggy Haim was nursing hurt ribs as the previous event she faced off against Max the Impaler at Uprise, so Ziggy went into this match with a disadvantage. But that disadvantage did not slow Ziggy Haim down as she brought the fight to Tony Johnson early and often. Tony Johnson would regain that advantage in the contest by targeting those injured ribs. He'd lock Ziggy in submission holds that target the ribs and would deliver a vicious crossbody to her into the ropes. But no matter what Tony did, Ziggy would not stay down because she had something to prove. At one point, Ziggy catches Tony off guard and hits him with a powerbomb out of the corner. But in the end, the injury would lead to her downfall, as it would be Tony Johnson now reluctantly taking advantage of the injury by delivering an ice pick kick to the ribs of Ziggy to pick up the win and advance in the tournament. In December, Tony Johnson would go on to defeat Matt Connard and win the Ryse Grand Championship. And this is where we thought our story between these parallel lines would end. As Ziggy would continue to chase the championship, a worldwide pandemic would shut everything down, stopping Ziggy's pursuit of the title and also stripping Tony Johnson of the Ryse Grand Championship, which brought both these two parallel lines back to square one. As we were slowly making our way through the pandemic, Ziggy Haim kept grinding away on shows, competing on MV Young's Polyam Call Party shows against some of the absolute best talent that Pittsburgh Wrestling has to offer, as she chased that Ryse Grand Championship that she was so close to capturing before the pandemic. And in April of 2021, she would finally accomplish that goal, because at MV Young's Polyam Call Party 3, Ziggy Haim defeated Janai Kai and the Gavel David Lawless in the same night to win the Ryse Grand Championship.
Oh my God, there's no way. Oh my God, that's in the Molotov cocktail! That's it, she did it, Ziggy did it, yes! Yes! Ziggy Haim is your new Ryse champion here at Polyam Culture. Oh my God. Ziggy Haim is the apex of Ryse now! The champion, the face, she has earned it! She has faced through the adversity tonight! She has done it every single time she's put her fucking body on the line in the middle of that ring! She has earned it!
Ziggy Haim has now accomplished the goal that she had chased after for over 3 years at Ryse, and has put herself on the same level as her parallel line Tony Johnson. And when Ryse returned in June of 2021, we put that theory to the test, as we saw our parallel lines face off against each other, as Ziggy Haim would defend her Ryse Grand Championship against Tony Johnson, MV Young, and Calvin Couture. This chaotic Fatal 4-Way match saw the action going all over the building. They fought out of the ring, into the crowd, up the bleachers, and even off the bleachers. Eventually the action would find its way back to the ring, and that's when MV Young decided to grab some doors. MV Young would end up putting both Tyler Klein and Calvin Couture through the doors. Tony Johnson would immediately hit MV Young with the ice pick kick, but in the end, Ziggy Haim would get the win by pinning Calvin Couture at the same time as Tony Johnson was pinning MV Young, and thus Ziggy Haim was able to stay one step ahead of her parallel line Tony Johnson on that night. This unfortunately would be the last time we saw our parallel lines face off against each other, as Ziggy Haim and Tony Johnson were both scheduled to compete in the Challenge of a Champion 6-way match in December of 2021, but they both ended up being taken out of the match due to illness. This is a storyline that I think about a lot, and I'm so glad I got to share it with you all today. To me, this is such a compelling story between two characters that are at different points in their careers, but realize that they're on the same path to the top. And we get this race of sorts between these two parallel lines as they chase after what they want most, which is the Ryse Grand Championship. And it's just fascinating to me how many what-ifs there are with this storyline. Like, what if there wasn't a worldwide pandemic, and we got to see Tony Johnson have a full title reign with the Ryse Grand Championship, which eventually leads to a match between him and Ziggy Haim? Like, what if they both didn't get sick and have to withdraw from the Challenge of the Champion match in December of 2021? And what if we got to see a conclusion of the storyline in 2022 when Ryse had to change of bookers and the storyline was just forgotten for no apparent reason? Like I said, I just think about the storyline a lot because they're two of my absolute favorite wrestlers, and I just think of what Ziggy Haim and Tony Johnson did against each other was absolutely incredible, and I want more people to know about it. Thank you to anyone who took the time to watch this video. It truly means the world to me, and I'll see you all in the next video.